let's have some fun. So we brought in our data architecture pattern here. Let's bring in another pattern. We're going to import. We're going to bring in discussion points for collaboration. And it put it in another project pattern namespace. And we're going to add this. I'm going to drag and drop it this time. Drag and drop it out there. And now we're going to have a bunch of discussion points that we can elaborate on. They also can be included in. Hello and welcome back. In our last episode, we talked about reusing our asset repository. And in this episode, we're going to talk about using patterns to deliver modeling faster. All right, so we're in our asset repository. We can go to our core diagrams and get to our building block diagrams. This model represents all of the platforms in our company, our fictitious company, that we commonly use in solution design. All right, and we've talked about this model quite a bit. What we're going to do is create a staging area. Go to our browser. In the staging area, I create a folder with the same name, e-commerce building blocks. Now, here's just a very important practice. You want to give this whatever you're going to name this file. If it's XMI, you're going to start out with an export for XMI. If it's native, and we've talked about this quite a bit during import and export, you'll give it a name that looks like that. At least start out to differentiate it from the original package, all right? And then we're going to create a diagram in here with that same name, all right? And a class diagram. So create diagram. There we go. It's blank. I typically, and this is a good tip in practice, go to diagram, disable fully scoped, go to elements, and I don't want anything in the compartments to show when I bring these in. There we go. Everything should be off. We're going to hit OK. Right? So we have a different name from our original asset. Now, if I hit Alt-G on this element, it's literally going to go to the namespace in the asset repository that represents where that element is, and I can do that for any element, right? So in this originating model, I'm going to hit Control-A, Control-C, come in here and Shift Insert, right? So it's bringing all of those elements in that are linked. I can hit Alt-G, look at that, it goes right to the asset namespace. I can go to Load Balancers, Alt-G, goes to the namespace in the asset repository. If I go back to e-commerce site and we look at the global unique ID, Control-A to select everything, Control-C, and let's bring up our notepad and paste that GUID, that global unique ID in there, right? Now let's go to our original, do the same thing, select it, go down to GUID, Control-A, Control-C, and then go to our notepad, the same GUID. Now, if you want that, let me go ahead and close this so I'm only focused on the new package we built in the staging area, and I can go to that by right-clicking, goes right down to the staging area where we're going to be playing, right? So now what we're going to do is Control-A, delete all of these, all right? Just remove them. This time, instead of Shift Insert creating links, we're going to Control, Shift, and V. And this brings up a paste elements as new. So it's going to strip the global unique IDs for everything that's in the asset repository and create new. Let me go ahead and hit paste. And what it's doing right now in this namespace is building out these elements. All right, and it's done. And here we are. We're in the native ecom building blocks diagram. And let me just do something. Just put an underscore in there as a practice or whatever delimitation you're using, right? And then I'm going to save. Now let's go to e-commerce site again, go all the way down to GUID, Control-A to select everything in that field, Control-C, bring back up our notepad, and we're going to paste the GUID for e-commerce site. You can see that it's different. This is very important to understand when you're building patterns or flat files that you're going to exchange models from your repository with others outside of your asset repository. All right, we've cleaned this model up a little bit here so that we can export it via Sparx Native XMI or Model Exchange. Cleaned up some of the lines because of the way that they came in. We'll make sure we save. We also gave it a brief description for what the flat file is going to be available for, and we named it using our naming convention. So native means it's going to be in an XMI or Model Exchange repository for others to access. So we've given it a name, native, meaning that it was using native XMI, native XML for imports, and then the date. So we've got the name, camel, no space, and the date. All right. Very important. Once you come up with a diagram or model name, name the package the same thing, because when you're doing your export, your patterns or your exchanges, that it will take that name for you. You don't have to type it in each time. All right. All right, we're going to hit Control Alt and E for export, and we're going to go out to where we're storing this, and we're going to save it, right? And then we're going to hit export, and it's out that fast and done. So now we have this exported and ready to use in another project. Now we're over in a blank project where we're going to test this. We're on the root folder model. We're going to hit Control, Alt, and I for import. And then we're going to go out to our repository where we just exported this file, and we're going to hit Open. We're not going to strip GUIDs. We're going to use the same global unique IDs that are currently in that file. We're going to baseline package after import. So we're going to hit Import. Yes, here it comes. And we asked it the baseline 001. I don't need the time, but I do want the date. There we go. And there it is done. It says it's complete and baseline's complete. Let's open it up. Now we have this export in here that we can use for anything that we want to do. The thing is that it's the same global unique IDs. I'm not going to spend the time to go through that the original elements in the asset repository, which are different from the original asset elements. But what we can do now is use cloning like you learned before. We're going to make this version 2, and we're going to accept this. Let's go with solution. I'm just going to call it solution. And we're going to put it in this building block namespace. And there we go. So in building blocks, we have something called solution, and here it is. And then we can give this any name we want, solution or whatever is meaningful to the project. So now I have the original file that we imported, models that we imported, and we have the solution models that we can come in here and we can clone as new version and do everything that we've been doing. So it's taking the diagram version 02. And we're just going to do that for the element version number, change it to 02. Brought in all of that intelligence that we were using. We can look at it, specification view. Yeah, go ahead and save. Thank you very much. All the intelligence came in for us to reuse. Some might call this a reusable pattern, but it's not really a Sparx pattern. However, it is reusable, thus you could call it a pattern. But what we're going to do is actually build a Sparx pattern. And the first thing that we want to do is bring in a legend that helps us look at the tag value. So data strategy, here we go. So you can see these elements have been tagged front end all the way out all the way down to data processing. And we're interested in anything relevant to our data strategy, which is going to be the cloud data, the machine learning AI, and data supply. We are interested in all the incoming elements that are supporting it. One of them, most importantly, is Service Exchange. This is our service layer where our data scientists and analysts will be publishing microservices to basically take advantage of machine learning and AI capabilities that are come out of our architecture when we're done. So I'm not saying that I want to get rid of these, but what we're going to do is just delete that, and I don't need this one. I'm just going to take these, and therefore now I can get rid of this legend and then move these over here. And now in my staging area, let's go back over and make sure we're in the right place. Certainly you don't want to do that in the wrong place, mess up your models. We need to save now, so Control S to save, and there we go. Now what we're going to do is take these elements and build a pattern. So we're in our staging area. We're going to create a separate package, and we're going to name it AP underscore. So this is an architecture pattern, and then camel, no space, the name of the pattern, which is data platform architecture. And then our convention is the date it was created. So let's just go ahead and do that. And there we go, create a class diagram, that's fine. And we have a blank diagram. And then so the elements that we just did, we're gonna take everything. So Control A and Control C, and then come over here and Control Shift and V. Paste all of these elements as new. And here they all come, and it's done, but I forgot to do something, and it's all messy. I don't want these compartments to be showing, so I can either one, start over, or two, go in here, go to diagram, disable fully scoped names. Don't have to worry about that in this case, but I do it anyway. Go to elements and turn off compartments. I hate when I do that. Waste time, right? So now they're nice and clean. I turn off fully scoped. Why is that still showing? Let's look. Disable fully scoped. There we go. Now it's done. So I can do one of two things. I can clean this up this way, or I can delete them all from the model, my pattern model, and do it again, right? So yes to all, and then Control, Shift, and V. Now let's bring them in. And now it's building out our elements in a clean environment this time. And there we go. Let me zoom out a little bit. Now, a lot of times the associations, the connectors get messed up. So I'll just clean these up a little bit here and come back to you. All right, this is a little bit better. And one of the problems in Sparx, it's a bug I need to report. These are not bidirectional. You see the arrows on this one? This one is correct. Source, if I double click on here and I go to properties, you can see this is source to direction, destination rather. That is correct. Double click on this one. Source to destination looks bidirectional to me. Bidirectional. That's what the two arrows mean. And it's supposed to be source to destination. So I can do it here. I can do it over in the other properties, change it back to source to destination, hit OK, cleans it up, right? And you can do that for each one of them if you care. All right, let me bring notes out here. So for this conversation. So these are the notes for the diagram pattern, right? And this is what your users are going to see when they go to the pattern repository and want to use this. So it describes what the pattern is, put a use case or a use for the pattern, and you can put certainly more information that's in here. And then the package has a different use, right? The users that are accessing the pattern repository are not going to see the package name, the namespace descriptions that are here. So this is just stating that, hey, you know, we need something. You might put some requirements in here for the pattern and other information. This will not show up when the pattern is exported, but the diagram description or notes will show up. So what we want to do is now export this out as a pattern. And so you go to the Specialized tab, you go to the Publish Technologies, Publish Diagram as Pattern. And then we're going to hit that. Now it's going to take the name, pattern name. So you want to check this, make sure you're on the right package you're getting ready to create a pattern from. The next most important thing is the category. And the category is architecture patterns. And you can't fat finger this or misspell it, which I just did. So architecture. I'm so afraid that I'm going to misspell that, because once you make that mistake, it stays with whatever it is. And then the version is 01. This is the very first instance of this pattern. And then you're going to browse where your pattern repository is. And here it's asset repository, patterns, and then architecture patterns right here. One tip is you can just copy this, whatever this is, that you're sure is correct. And then we're going to put it in here with the name. And then I copied the name that was there, and we're going to go ahead and hit save. It already exists because I did it right here, data platforms. We're going to go ahead and step on that. So now it's all ready to go. It's all your content that's here that's going to go in the pattern. We're going to hit OK, and it's done that fast. You just created a pattern. All right, so we're back over in our test project. We have to test this pattern. Make sure you're not testing patterns in your production environments. Do them in their own instance. So I have a test project folder here. All right, so in this, what we're going to do is go to Resources, and our pattern repository is blank. We're going to right-click on here. We're going to import. We're going to bring in this pattern that we just created. And there it is. Put it in the right namespace, architecture patterns. We can double click it. We can look at it and preview it and say, hey, or ask, hey, is this the one that I want? And then we'll close. What we're going to do, we want to add it to our model. Our model could already have building blocks in it. We're just bringing in a bunch of patterns to put something together. But in this case, we're only bringing in one. So add pattern, yes, thank you very much. I could drag it and drop it in, but we're doing it this way. Yes, there we go. And here's our pattern. Brought it in just that fast. Now let's have some fun. So we brought in our data architecture pattern here. Let's bring in another pattern. We're going to import. We're going to bring in discussion points for collaboration. And it put it in another project pattern namespace. And we're going to add this. I'm going to drag and drop it this time. Drag and drop it out there. And now we're going to have a bunch of discussion points that we can elaborate on. They also can be included in your reporting, which is pretty cool, where you can talk about certain areas of your architecture as you're going forward. Extremely productive, extremely fast for delivering your architecture. All right, we're going to wrap up now. That is reusing patterns to build out your architecture. Our focus is on data architecture, but this applies to anything, architecture, non-architecture, anything you want. I keep proving to you that you can use model to model drive anything. So I hope this was useful for you. Please leave comments down below if you got any questions or concerns on what was presented here today. Let us know. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible, maybe include in the next video. And the next episode video is going to be on building data solution approaches using scenarios, which is going to be pretty fun. So we're going to extend this series out. Look forward to getting into that with you. And until that next episode, happy modeling.